Well, we haven't taken this deck out for a spin in a fair old while. Queen Marchesa versus Arixmethes, Slumbering Isle. We don't have a very good hand, so we're going to have to throw that one back, and that's not great, but it's not terrible either. If we get into black mana, then we're looking okay. And we're on the draw, so yeah, we'll just keep that. And a plains I'm going to have to put on top because we might not get into another land as quickly as we would like. Oh, and forgive me, Arixmethes is access to black mana, isn't it? So yeah, we'll just get down the... This one is destroying enchantment. Not as worried about that. I would be more interested in destroying an artifact on our opponent's turn, because Arixmethes, the Slumbering Isle, I'm not too sure what they want to do in this type of deck, but I'm assuming they'd quite like to get down a lot of ramp, but it looks like they might be more of a control-y build if they are playing around. Yeah, if they're holding up mana on our turn, I just assume that they are wanting to do things during our turn. Let's go over the commander really quickly. A 12/12 for 4 mana. It enters the battlefield tapped with 5 slumber counters on it. And it is a land as long as it has at least a slumber counter on it. It taps for Simic. And you cast... Yeah, whenever you cast a spell, you can remove a counter from it. So it is a means of getting into an early game 12/12 if you can get lots of cantrips and things like that going. But if you manage to get it back into your opponent's command zone, then it is, yeah, it's only going to be able to come out a few times and actually be relevant, I think. Let's get into... yeah, we'll get into a black and red source here because we have white in hand. So I think it's Smoldering Marsh we want. Yeah, we'll go for that because that's a tap land. And then why don't we attempt... What do we want to do? You know what, I'm just going to, seeing as how our opponent isn't doing anything, I'm just going to hold up Diabolic Edict. There's an argument to be made for Demonic Tutor there. But I would like to hope for a land off the top. That way we don't have to tutor for a land. Okay, and our opponent might be getting into something like Oracle of Muldiah here. Nope, they're just going after their commander, which is just 4 mana ramp for them. Never actually played against this commander, but we get into Reflecting Pool, which is excellent for us. That means that we can get down our commander, and our commander is a 3/3 for 4 mana, has Death Touch and Haste. When it enters, we become the Monarch, and then at the beginning of our upkeep, if we are not the Monarch, then we get a 1/1 black assassin with Death Touch and Haste, which is of course a means of regaining the monarchy. If you are the Monarch, then you draw a card at the beginning of your end step, and if anyone hits you for combat damage, then they become the Monarch. So it's something that you can start to wrestle over as the game progresses, but Tatyova is something I would very much like to remove. So that has Diabolic Edict written all over it. Yeah, Tatyova I haven't been playing as much on the channel, thanks to Lord Winggrace, but something I'd quite like to get back into the circuit. Okay, Rogue's Passage, really struggling on coloured mana minus their commander. I think this thing, once it becomes a 12/12, it'll still tap for mana. Okay, Plaguemere. Yeah, more coloured mana. Okay, why don't we grab... Yeah, I think we go for... getting rid of that with the Which one? Which side of that are we using? Can't remember the name of this card. Wear and Tear, that's it. So we use Wear to get rid of the Plague Mere. And then Diabolic Edict will force our opponent to sacrifice a creature, which will of course be Tatyova. And then if our opponent does manage to turn the creature, their commander, into the 12/12, we might have to take a hit from it, but we can Oblivion Ring that. Then if they get rid of O-Ring, it will re-enter with slumber counters on it. Now the question is, does our opponent have free counter magic? Oh dear, they appear to have disconnected, so hopefully that's not our opponent being salty and just throwing their toys out of the pram. I'll stick around and give our opponent the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it is a genuine disconnection error. Okay, after about 5 minutes or so of waiting, our opponent seems to have reappeared, so I'm going to assume that they genuinely did disconnect. Either that or they've just gone to cool off. So we'll swing in at our opponent and see what card we draw. Hopefully get into a land. No, we don't. We get into Terminate. Does at least fill our hand up to the 7 cards that we can hold at a time, but struggling on land drops. It's now turn 6. Hopefully we get into one next turn. And I think the aim as of now is to duress our opponent next turn and then maybe hold up Terminate, something like that. Okay, Goreclaw Terror of Calcisma is well worth removing. This thing is a good commander on its own, actually, and it's something that well, let me put it to all of you. Is this the type of commander you'd like to see on the channel? I already have a mono green commander in Nissa Vaswoodseer, but I think Goreclaw would be much more big creature based, so that could be something different for the channel if anyone is interested in such a thing. And then getting into Crash of Rhino Beetles. That is a trample 5/5. And as long as our opponent controls 10 or more lands, it gets +10/+10. So I think we're still on the removal plan. Okay, we get into a land, which is very good. That means that we can unexpectedly absent our opponent. Yeah, why don't we just go for... Why don't we go for exactly that? I wonder if I'd actually want to trade with my opponent. Yeah, I'm just going to hold it back, see what my opponent does next turn. We'll get rid of... Going to get rid of Duress. Don't really like getting rid of Duress, but yeah, maybe I should have terminated one of my opponent's creatures there so that we wouldn't have to discard. Well, a certain way you do have to play sometimes is if you get to know the things that your opponents get salty about. Sometimes they don't like, in fact it's seldom that your opponent likes discard, and they don't tend to like mill either. And if our opponent is feeling salty about the plays we've made so far, then them discarding with Duress might be a means of them actually quitting this time. That is of course assuming that the disconnect wasn't genuine. They cast another spell now. They can get Arixmethes animated. That does take them one land away from, or it takes one land off their 10 land count, making this further away from a 15/15 trample. Might get a big creature here thanks to Goreclaw. Perhaps should have terminated that during our turn. Okay, going for Impervious Great Worm, an indestructible 16/16, so this is just a big creature deck basically. And what gets the counters off this thing again? I've been sat here that long just daydreaming that I can't remember. Whenever you cast a spell, you may remove a counter from it. So it's a may ability, which I didn't realise. So that does change things. Why don't we therefore go into terminate on... Yeah, we'll go for that thing. And then we'll unexpectedly absent that thing, seeing as how it is indestructible. And now we... Oh, Ancient Tomb is quite nice. I think in that case it's Ancient Tomb into Obnixilis. And then we can destroy that thing. And then I'm going to hold back Queen Marchesa because they might animate this thing next turn and turn it into a 12-12. We can at least kill it. I don't think it has trample, does it? No, they may have means of giving it trample. Do we want to Demonic Tutor? I don't think we do. I don't actually know what we would want off a Demonic Tutor, and we are going to get card draw next turn off Obnixilis, hopefully. Obnixilis is +1, draw a card, lose a life. -3 is destroy a creature. And -8, whenever target opponent gets an emblem, which is whenever a player draws a card, you lose 2 life. Which is really good in this deck. I don't think I've ever got the emblem off with Obnixilis, not in this deck anyway. I typically throw it out and minus it down. But with us drawing at least 2 cards a turn, seemingly, that would deal a lot of damage to our opponent if we managed to get that emblem off. Okay, unfortunately our opponent has disconnected again. I mean, there's no way for me to know. I don't know if they're just genuinely having internet connection issues, or if they're looking at their hand and not really seeing if there's much they can do and then just getting angry and quitting out of the client. I've no idea. Their clock is currently at 8.5 minutes to our just under 19 minutes. So you can appreciate how long it has taken to try and get this game going. I'm going to wait for them again, but if it's anything like last time, they're only going to have 2 or 3 minutes left on the clock by the time they get back, so I'll just wait and see what happens. Okay, our opponent reconnects and then just decides to scoop immediately, so I'm guessing that our opponent was being salty and just quitting out of the game and disconnecting in the hope that we would concede. This is a strange thing. If you don't play Magic Online, this is a strange thing that some people do. The game doesn't, or the client doesn't keep track of statistics or anything like that, so it's not like you have a KD ratio to worry about or anything like that. People just have this strange notion swirling around in their mind that they don't want to quit the game even though they feel as though they've lost. Instead, what they'd rather do is disconnect, have their opponent get bored of waiting, and have them quit the game so that this little window pops up and tells them that they've won. And if that counts as a win in their eyes, then more power to them, but that is no way of improving your gameplay. So that's just something that opponents do sometimes. Yeah, I don't actually know if they were having connection issues or not, but they came back after only a couple of minutes and quit immediately, as opposed to their disconnecting for 5 or 6 minutes previously. So, and plus their slow play, yeah, I'm just going to assume that they were being salty there. So this will be either spliced onto another video, it'll be some kind of bonus video, or if I'm releasing this at 12:30 UK time as a normal video, this won't be the only video for today. I'll probably throw out another real Queen Marchesa game. Or actually, I've heard it's Marchesa, as in, and that makes sense, as in a Marquis, as in royalty. Yeah, Queen Marchesa, I think it is. Anyway, you'll be getting a real video later on in the day if I do decide to upload it as a 12:30 video. Anyway, don't know what I'm going to do yet, but hopefully you got some kind of enjoyment and at least learned how Queen Marchesa is played. Failing that, Hope you got some enjoyment out of it. I don't know what I'm saying. I've been sitting here like a lemon for the past 20 minutes, not actually getting a game underway. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm tribalkai. I'll see you later.